Welcome, everyone. This is the fifth week of the Fumbling Gurus podcast. We have a lot to talk about this week and go into whether teams are looking good or looking bad this year. We're about the quarter of the way through the season, so we get to talk about if the teams are the real deal or not. Of course, Sick Stomach is the host today, myself, and we also have G Man joining us. G Man, if you'd like to say hello.
Hello.
I didn't literally mean just say hello. No. And we also have Finn, Mr. Finsational, joining us from the Dolphins headquarters over there.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Lots of talk over in here.
Are you worried about your position there in the headquarters this year?
Not too bad right now. I have distanced myself from a lot of the high level guys, so I should be fine.
Yeah, that's probably pretty smart, pretty wise. All right, so we're gonna jump in today and talk about some topics coming out of last week, heading into next week, and just get some chat going. So one of the first things, I mean, this was kind of I don't know if it was the biggest news this week, but it made some of the biggest headlines. Jacksonville, Urban Meyer. Yeah, I guess we'll start there. Get it out of the way and get into football talk after this. But as you guys know, Urban Meyer video surfaced of him in a bar with someone that he probably shouldn't have been with. Um, so I think this just adds to a lot of what Jacksonville's been seeing this season. They haven't necessarily lived up to expectations, especially with the hype around Trevor Lawrence and everything. But Finn, let me get your take on the news this week and anything coming out of that.
Sure. So right out of the gate, obviously, Urban Meyer, head coach, and the probably the biggest part of this is why was he there? They lost, they get on the team plane, you go back to Jacksonville, but he didn't take the plane home. I know that yes, this video, the whole he's married of a woman that's not his wife dancing on him, the other angle showing what his hands were doing, not great. But from the football perspective, I you have to understand a lot of ex-players went onto Twitter and went on else to, all over the place and was asking the same question. Why weren't you with the team? They had Jeff Schwartz tweeted out basically saying that he doesn't think at any level from high school to the pros when the game ended and they were on their way back that their coach wasn't with them.
Mm,
So that seems right away very very big looming question. The players have there's some uproar on just what to do. Did they lose respect? They broke the huddle of the other day's either today or yesterday's practice by yelling the word grind. It's a really bad look, and I said it from the get-go. I don't know if Jacksonville really made a good decision with Urban Meyer. He's not exactly known as the cleanest of guys from his college days. Tim Tebow spoke, and Tim Tebow was seemed pretty down that his bud was a very bad guy. However, keep in mind he was also the head coach of the murderer there that was in New England, Aaron Hernandez. He had the Pouncey twins. It's not like, he had a bunch of Tim Tebows on his roster, that's for sure.
yeah, I think that was one of the biggest things I heard this week was like his. So right, you at least for myself, it's always the response to the situation. I did it. Things are going to happen. I guess you can call this a mistake, but mistakes are going to happen. And it's like, your response is what matters. Or do you own up to it? Do you try and make it right? Do you, like you said, go to your team and in this instance, go to your team and try to say like, hey, look, I messed up, whatever. I think that was the biggest thing for me is a lot of what I heard from his talks to the players and things like that. They didn't necessarily feel like he was being upfront with them and being, honest with them. And I think in college maybe you can get away with that, but in the NFL you're not gonna have the backing of your team if you don't, treat them as equals. But G-Man, any thoughts from your side on this going on?
That's where he wanted to go, right? College.
Mm,
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think he's all but gone at this point. Between leaving the team and grinding on anything that isn't a football, I think that he's not going to make it that far. Obviously, the players felt that too because they were all over Twitter talking
mm,
about it. So, um, I think that Urban Meyer, his days are numbered in Jacksonville. That's for sure.
yeah, and it makes
Would like
you
to
go ahead, Finn.
say I would like to say too. I mean, as bad of a situation as this is, and let's face it, from a football perspective, I, these players, a lot of these players. I mean, there was a joke, or not a joke. It's actually a I've read somewhere along the lines. There was a pretty famous player, I believe he was in New Orleans, who had three phones. One for his family, one for his agent, and one for, well, to put it nicely, other women. This isn't out of the ordinary. This isn't out of character and whatnot. So from a football perspective, it's not that bad in the grand scheme of things. But I just read an article and they're talking about the girl herself and that she now might even get fired because his video surfaces. It's not just the stuff coming down on Urban Meyer, it's all the other things. His poor wife, his poor kids.
Hmm.
I mean, this girl, you want to talk about going back to college? Here's this girl fresh out of college, got her first job, and now may get fired. And this is right after 3 weeks after, 2 weeks after, whatever, the job opening up in USC, where Urban Meyer has always kind of had his eyes on. I not
If you're
not
that if you're that
what
college team, do you pick him up now?
that's a big question. And Urban Meyer, the football guy, yes. Urban Meyer, the person,
Do you want
I
that going on to your team?
I
Like look at what the stigma around that is, and that's your face. That's the face of your team. That's the guy calling your plays, and he's going to be on TV every week. And so, do you really want that representing your
P-
team?
PR nightmare, absolutely
Hmm.
PR nightmare.
I think in the past you could, if you get away with it, it's like places changing their name from year to year, so you get rid of the bad reviews on websites. I think that stigma is changing though. I think especially with some of our generation and younger, we're not letting those things go as easily as before, and I think that's going to change some of these decisions. And like you're saying, it's not uncommon, but maybe it's becoming uncommon within the league. It's becoming a little more. Um, you don't want to put yourself in those situations. But yeah, I think we've hit on this one. I want to move on and get to some real, actual football sports talk. So let's jump in. I know we want to go over a little bit of last week. I guess we'll start with maybe what's fresh from yesterday. So the Thursday game, it was uh, man. I caught the first half of it. I thought the first half went pretty well. Of course, Seahawks versus Rams. Um, leading into the second half, Russell Wilson got hurt. So, man, I really like. I thought it was a pretty good shootout, and I think that kind of took it into took away some of the momentum, of course, of the Seahawks, and I think that's where it just kind of lost it a little bit for me. Of like, it was a great game, and then all of a sudden it kind of rolled downhill from there. First half, I think Russell Wilson he struggled a little bit. I think both teams were struggling. I know one of the drives I was watching, the Rams finally got into field goal territory. Up until that point, there was I think there was zero first downs in the entire game. This is like second quarter. Nothing was pretty much going on in this game. Rams get down into field goal range. They're within the red zone, and Stafford throws a ball away straight into a Seahawk, and they intercept it in their end zone and of course go back the other way. So it's like I felt like that was just that play kind of summarized the first half for me. But I think the second half definitely picked up. I was just sad to see Russell get hurt and kind of take some of the steam out of that game. But G-Man, I'll throw to you first. What were some of your thoughts leading into that Thursday game?
Yeah, it was definitely a good game. Very defense heavy. The first half, like you said, it was kind of shootout match, if you will. After Russell got hurt, I'm sure it didn't help their team at all. I think that it was 13 points for uh, the Rams in the second half, and then it's just one of those things where if you miss in a quarterback, it's kind of running away from you.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, he's man, my fantasy team is hurting this year too. I had Russell Wilson, who's now injured, Tua, who's been injured, and Tyrod Taylor, who's been injured. I drafted, we do two quarterback leagues. I drafted three just in case someone gets injured, and now they're all three injured. So I don't know, I have no idea. Finn, what are your thoughts of the game last night, Seahawks and Rams?
One of the things that Seattle is known for is really random, weird games. And that's just what they do. It's what they're kind of. Russell Wilson is a magician in the backfield,
Mm-hmm.
right? The offensive line cannot block anybody. Five guys come out of nowhere, and Russell Wilson will find a way to make a big play happen. It's just what happens. Well, Russell Wilson didn't make the play of the game, but my goodness, did their punter do it? Takes the ball, snaps it, punt gets blocked. Ball is spinning. What a beautiful scoop with his one hand. Sets up and then punts it 60 something yards for or something like that. Doesn't even matter. It could have been 20 yards. It's still a great play.
Mm-hmm.
It ends up being a really nice punt and it kind of was the summary of the game. Just total chaos. Russell Wilson gets hurt. You want to talk about fantasy teams real quick? I was not happy to see Russell Wilson get hurt, but I happen to be facing DK Metcalf. I was at least, well, that production's down. No, not at all. Metcalf ends up getting like 60 yards and a touchdown once the injury happens. And Geno Smith, right? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
comes in. And here we are. This guy is garbage. He's terrible, blah, 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 blah. And he almost leads the comeback. Now, it ends on a Geno Smith pick
Mm-hmm.
and summarizes his career pretty well. But the big news out of that was definitely the Russell Wilson injury. It's now being, he had to have surgery on his middle finger to repair that tendon. He's out 6 weeks. But there is a kind of a bombshell that dropped right around the time of that broadcast, which was Jay Glazier said that 1 million% Russell Wilson will be requesting a trade next offseason again.
Hmm.
So we had all this speculation last year about Russell Wilson being traded. He gets hurt, bad. Seattle falling behind in that division. And now there's the speculation that Russell Wilson is again done with this team, and this is just his 1 year before he puts his foot down again and says, "I want out." There's that's a lot of losses that piled up on one game.
Yeah, I think I'm not too surprised with Russell Wilson. I think I've always felt he's been a little out of place with that team. I don't think he's quite found his fit. Like you've been saying, he makes things happen, but I don't think it's necessarily his offense. And I have to wonder too, like how much longer Pete Carroll. I don't know much about him, how much he's expressed this, but I feel like he's got it. I mean, he's what 70 years old, I believe, at this point. So it's like at some point he's gonna move on. I don't think Russell Wilson wants to be there to build this team or rebuild this team or whatever happens. Um, so I mean, I could see him wanting the trade, and I think I don't know. Do you have any ideas where you think he'd fit well? I'm trying to think of teams, and I don't know. I don't know where his play style would really fit.
I
I
know
could
where I
definitely
want him.
think of a few.
I know where I want him.
Where do you want him?
The Eagles with all our picks, just
Uh,
swoop
I
in
thought you were
there and
gonna
get
go
him.
with Dallas for.
Oh no, no, they got Prescott. They don't need Russell Wilson.
So one thing with Russell Wilson is it seems like with the Seattle Seahawks that whenever they lose a game, whenever their offense struggles, Pete Carroll goes, "Guys, I know how to fix this offense. We need to run the ball, run the ball, run the ball." You have Russell Wilson. Like, why are you trying to run the ball? Do you think Aaron Rodgers and the Packers, they have a bad game, and the coach looks at Rodgers and goes, "Nah, we don't want the ball in Rodgers' hands. We want it to go in Aaron Jones' hands." Of course not. Aaron Jones is a great player, but he's not Aaron Rodgers. In terms of where he could fit, I'm just going to throw out a couple teams real quick that kind of are not necessarily the huge obvious teams, but Pittsburgh Steelers. You have the Washington football team, the WTFs. Two teams that are pretty talented. And where's their big question mark? Quarterback. And of
Yeah,
course, I'm excluding this team here, who seems to be all in on Deshaun Watson for some
Let's
reason.
Yeah, I was gonna say
But
let's slow down. Y'all are getting Watson. You don't need Wilson.
but there are some teams that would make a lot of sense for Wilson to go to, assuming that he does in fact want out and gets out and is able to escape that contract.
I could see the Dolphins. Honestly, I think that would be a good fit. If we're talking about play style, fan base, Pittsburgh. I don't know if Russell would fit there. Their style of play, their style of fans, what the fans like to see. Um, I don't see Russell fulfilling that. Especially you're going from Big Ben to the Russell Wilson. I mean, I get that it would be a fit and there's a need for a quarterback. I just don't think it's a psychological fit there.
They love to throw the ball deep, and Big Ben, especially early in his career, used to extend plays.
Hmm.
I mean, that's Russell Wilson. In terms of Miami, to be quite honest with you, going back to the year that the Dolphins drafted Ryan Tannehill, it was Andrew Luck, RG3, Ryan Tannehill, and then the two quarterbacks that fell out of the first round. I did not want Ryan Tannehill that year. I wanted Russell Wilson.
Hmm.
And then, of course, Kirk Cousins was also in that draft. So I actually said, and I had no proof of this other than I told people that I actually felt that Russell Wilson, when it was all said and done, very well might be the best quarterback in the draft class. Now, I'm going to hang my hat on that because I've missed plenty of other players, but that guy I got right.
Over RG3, are you sure?
RG3, I actually wanted nothing to do with and was shocked that he had the success that he had right out of the gate.
Hmm.
But those injuries piled up, and well,
Yeah.
obviously he's out of the league now.
Which was unfortunate. Yeah, I think he was a lot of fun to watch when he was healthy. Um,
That he was.
yeah, jumping in, we can move on from here and jump into some other items for this week. Like I kind of hinted at earlier, this is pretty much the first quarter of the season's gone. So at this point, we have a pretty good baseline for what these teams are potentially going to pan out for the rest of the season. We have, of course, some key injuries that are affecting some of these quarterbacks for a lot of teams. You're talking about Washington football team losing Fitzpatrick, etc. So let's kind of talk about some teams that we feel, are currently in trouble and need to maybe turn things around, and then we'll jump into some teams that, have looked really good in maybe the first four games, and if we think that's going to continue on that trajectory. So then, we actually were just talking about the Steelers. So maybe we'll start there. They are currently 1-3. Um, I believe the first game against Buffalo is the only win. Um, uh, Big Ben can't stay healthy. He's been harboring an injury most of the season, if not the whole season. I don't see their offensive line doing very well for the rest of the season, so like that's not going to help. So yeah, Finn, we'll start with you. Maybe some thoughts about the Steelers. Can they turn it around? Do you think this is just a slow start, or is this what they're going to be like the rest of the season?
Heading into the year, I was concerned about Big Ben. I was concerned about his age. It looked like last year he started to fall off. Well, I believe that's in fact happened, and I do not see this team turning around. They are in dire trouble. Their division, Cincinnati, Baltimore, and Cleveland are all 3-1. I believe two of them have wins over Pittsburgh already. This is not good. Their defense has a few leaks. Yes, it's because of injuries. The groin injuries seems to really be piling up there in Pittsburgh, not Jacksonville, but Pittsburgh with the groin injuries. And they are in trouble. 100% not good. Their offensive line's a mess, and they drafted a running back with their first round pick. Yikes.
Hmm. Yeah, I think previously you'd watch Big Ben. It would take two people to take him down. If you got a hand on him, he wouldn't even feel it. And I was watching some of the games past weekend, and it felt like everything that got to him was a sack. Everything that got close was too much pressure. And yeah, it just doesn't look like him. It doesn't look like what you'd expect. And I think it could be. I don't. I feel the same way. I feel it is going to be the trend for the rest of the season. G-Man, any thoughts on the Steelers there?
I mean, you just look at their last games. I mean, they beat the Bills, the Raiders, and the Bengals and the Packers. Those aren't pushover teams. They don't have a lot of pushover teams on their schedule, and it's going to be a hard season because they got to face the. They'll probably beat the Broncos, honestly, but the Seahawks, I don't see them beating the Seahawks. And just going down the list here, it's not looking good for the Steelers, that's for sure. And with Big Ben getting older, I don't think that that team's going to be doing much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, comparing him to the best player to ever wear number 12, Tom Brady, I think you're seeing, like, at least for me, a difference. I'm glad I got that in first today. I think Brady, you can see him moving around. There was even a play last week where he ran for a first down and had a huge smile on his face afterwards. I just don't see the same thing from Big Ben when he's playing. So, yeah, we'll wrap that up and move into the second one here. I'm not going to give Finn any time to rebut my Tom Brady comment. Jumping in, we also have a couple other teams I want to hit on. Kansas City, I think, is one maybe to put into the, at least for me, potentially a trouble category, especially with what you'd expect from them. They are 2-2. They have played some tough teams. They've won some tough games, but I feel they're a little bit out of sync. I think the past couple seasons, to me, you had great individual players, but they meshed well. And then this season, it kind of feels like they're just individuals. They're not really meshing. They're not really syncing. They're making good plays, but they're not really there as a team. I don't know what the change or difference is, but that's kind of the feel I get watching them. G-Man, any thoughts on Kansas City leading into the next 3 quarters of the season here?
Yeah, if you were to tell me before the season started who was in the Super Bowl, I'm pretty sure I would have told you the Chiefs. But a 2-2 start is not looking good. I think that I've watched a lot of their games so far, and I think you hit it on the head. They just don't. They're individuals. They're not a team. And I feel like one of the main weaknesses they had last year was their defense, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what went wrong. I can't put my finger on it. They just haven't been that great,
Yeah.
or
I,
to the caliber that you would expect
mm,
a two-time Super Bowl, or not two-time Super Bowl, but going twice
yeah.
to
Super Bowl
be.
appearances, yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
No, I agree. I can't put my finger on it either. I mean, it's the team hasn't changed a whole lot. They have the same core. Um, but Finn, any thoughts there? Anything you've been seeing that maybe accounts for some of this, or do you feel differently?
Well, first off, I got to take a page out of the greatest quarterback to ever wear number 12's book. That is RELAX. Relax. The Kansas City Chiefs are going to be just fine. They are. They had a lot of turnover on that offensive line. Brand new starting left tackle. They went and traded for a first round pick to Baltimore. They went out and they signed the left guard, the ex left guard of New England Patriots. They drafted a rookie center. The right guard took last year off to go. He actually has a nursing degree or something like that.
Hmm.
And he went to do the front line of COVID last year. So, brand new right guard, and then also a brand new right tackle. Mitchell Schwartz, they cut, and he is still waiting to get work, but that's a different story. Brand new offensive line. The offensive line takes time to gel. Their offense is already one of the tops in the league. They just signed Josh Gordon, and if he can
Hmm.
stay away from the weed and he is the player that he was, that offense will be even more electrifying than it already is. On the defensive side, yes, there are some struggles. They're, I believe, the worst ranked team in the league right now defensively. That will change over time. And also, they're going to get more turnovers. Plus, it's a lot easier to play with the lead on the defensive side, and Mahomes is great. Relax. Yes, they're in a tough division. Yes, the Dolphins passed over Herbert, who is has the Chargers 3-1, and the Chargers are playing great ball. Yes, John Gruden has the Oakland Raiders 3-1. And yes, the Denver Broncos are 3-1. But don't worry about that. The Chiefs are the Chiefs. They're gonna be fine. Just relax. Just relax. Take a step back. They'll be fine.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely don't disagree. I think they have. It's not like they don't have the players they need. They just need to get in sync this season. Andy Reid maybe needs to put together some crazy schemes for plays that he always pulls out of his back pocket. But yeah, I agree. I think it is just going to take time, and they're not anyone to write off for sure.
Definitely not.
Yeah, jumping into a little bit here too. How do you guys feel about Seattle? I mean, they're not off to a great start, and then now they don't have probably their key player for the next couple. What you said about 6 weeks at minimum. We let's assume. So I mean, that's another almost half the season he'll be out. Um, I Geno Smith was good last night. I think he does have potential. I don't know if he can lead an offense an entire game. I mean, you're coming in as unexpected. You have adrenaline. You want to make a stand, but now you got to prep for a game, train for a game, get into a game. It's going to be different. Um, Finn, I'll let you kind of start off this conversation on your thoughts about the Seahawks moving forward.
Prep the kitchen. They're cooked. They're done. Goodbye. See ya.
What happened to
It's over.
relax? What happened to?
Not with this team. Not with this team. Look, they have issues on the defense. They now have an issue at the quarterback. Their offensive line is still a mess. Yes, they have DK Metcalf. Yes, they have Tyler Lockett.
Hmm.
Great. Geno Smith is your quarterback now. Good luck. He failed for the Jets. Okay, everyone fails for the Jets, but he's not great. He had a good run, and he still managed to throw the pick to end the game. They're done. It's sorry, Seattle fans. Sorry, Harley. They're done. That's I. They're done.
It's not gonna be another Sam Darnold coming off the Jets and proving it's some voodoo over on the Jets team.
Unfortunately, Adam Gase was long gone, or wasn't even there yet when Geno Smith got cut. So no Gase effect. They're in trouble. They're in trouble.
Yeah, can't say I disagree there. So, G-Man, your thoughts on the Seahawks?
I'm kind of with Finn here. I think they're in big trouble. I mean, Russell Wilson is has some pretty big feet, and those are big shoes. And I don't know if Geno Smith can do it.
Hmm.
I just that's a tough division, and I don't think I see that guy leading them to beat the every other team to get a playoff spot. So
Yeah. Yeah, I don't see when I was watching there's a lot of scrambling being done. I don't think that they can protect a quarterback that's not ready, and someone they need someone of Russell's caliber to carry them, and without that, it's going to be tough. So it'll be interesting to watch and see. Like you said, they have weapons, they can get it done, but can that just that one piece of the quarterback not being there is that going to make everything fall apart? Um, yeah, we can jump into kind of the opposite from here of some teams that we feel are doing really well, and if we think they'll stay up on that pedestal for quite a while. Um, Kind of the one I wanted to start off with, and we've hit on a couple times, so I want to kind of dive into it, is Denver. I know we talked last week. They really hadn't played a team that could give them much fight. Before this week, I believe the combined records of teams they had beat to be undefeated at the time was something like 2-10. So it was not very not a very selective group that they were playing. So heading into this week, they are playing the Steelers. I think that gives them a chance. It gives them an opportunity. Last week they played Baltimore. They kind of, that was their proving ground, and it did not go well. They lost. Let me see here. 23-7 was the score last week, so it was not a pretty game. Part of it, though, when you take a look, Bridgewater was out with a concussion, so that does lend a little bit to it. Drew Lock came in, didn't have the best of performances. He'll have some prep time this week. It'll be interesting to see. I don't know if they've cleared Bridgewater yet. I think there's an expectation he will be. So we can kind of expect that. But G-Man, any thoughts on the Broncos this week and just moving forward of if they can keep this momentum of currently being 3-1?
I mean, look at who they faced. They faced the Giants, trash team. Jaguars, sorry sick, trash team. Jets, trash team. And then when they finally get somewhere to where they can prove themselves, even yeah, I know QB's out, fail. Okay, coming into the Steelers game, even if they did have their starting quarterback, I don't think they could pull it off. And I don't have faith that through this season they're going to be anywhere but a middle of the road team. And that's my take.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I think I want to say that they're going to do well and they're going to keep this momentum, but if you're taking the data, like you said, if you're just looking at the teams they played and the outcomes of those games, it's tough to say they'll keep the momentum. Finn, do you feel the same way?
They're fakes. They're frauds. They're their 3-1 record looks good, and they are a better team than what they were last year. Their defense is very, very good. Make no mistake about that. And Teddy Bridgewater, he will be back this week. He should be cleared from the concussion protocol. I believe he either was today or he will be, but at least that's the expectation. But it doesn't matter. They probably will beat Pittsburgh. When we might even get into that, someone might pick them. But at the end of the day, neither one of those guys at quarterback really elevate that team. They've had some key injuries. I believe Jerry Judy is hurt, and they just lost one of their other receivers as well.
Hmm.
I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago. This is a team that is not quite ready to take the next step. And they got out to a fast start. I am excited to see how they respond to a loss. Sometimes good teams they beat up on some teams and then they face a good team, they get punched and they just stumble backwards. They don't react right away. Maybe that last week's game was a wake up call, but I would not be putting money on them whatsoever.
No, I definitely agree. Um, I think. Let me ask maybe this question: if they come out and beat the Steelers and make it a decisive game, does that change your mind?
Yeah, if their offense can get going against Pittsburgh's defense, and even though Pittsburgh's defense isn't the a great defense that they were expected to be, especially like I said with the injuries to TJ Watt and some of the other guys,
Hmm.
it would still be a statement win to show that their offense can move the ball against a pretty decent defense. And as much as we want to say that Pittsburgh's offense is dead and done because of the old man at quarterback, Pittsburgh still has some very good receivers. They still have a good running back. And so if they can shut that offense down while scoring a lot of points, yeah, that absolutely could change my mind. I still want to see more out of them. 4 game sample size, a 5 game sample size isn't going to
Hmm.
be enough. But coming back from a beatdown that they got in Baltimore would be a huge, that would be a sign of a good team rebounding. We'll
For
see.
sure. Yeah, and I
They
think
could beat
that.
the Steelers. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
If they could beat the Steelers and then turn around and beat the Raiders, uh, I think they got something.
Hmm.
But one game isn't really gonna sway me.
Yeah. No, I feel the same way. I think this is their, like we said, there's an excuse for last week. You can find some reasons they didn't win that. If they can come back, if they can bounce back, that to me says more about them than what we saw last week. Um, yeah, transitioning a little bit here. One of the teams that I believe was ranked the number one team in the lead, Carolina last week, heading into it. They did, and I'm sure we'll talk a little bit more about it. Did get knocked off by Dallas, but man, I was watching that game and they did look good. I think they are a very good team. They did not have CMC Christian McCaffrey last week, so of course that's going to hurt. One of the best player in the league probably. Um, so I think if you added they barely got beat by Dallas. If you add him into the mix, um, this is it's a change. So Finn, we'll start with you on Carolina. Are they the real deal? Do you think last week was a fluke, or is it going to continue for some of their next remaining games here?
Biggest scare to me about this team is their defense gave up 36 points.
Mm-hmm.
I I picked up the defense in both my fantasy leagues because I thought that this defense was for real. And Dallas offense is very good. Dak Prescott is very, very, very good. So I was very, very surprised and shocked to see that the Panthers defense gave up as many points as they did. Offensively, they battled and they really pushed Dallas to their limit. And you got to give a young team learning with the new quarterback a lot of credit for that. I'm with you. I think Carolina's legit. I do. I think they're gonna push the Bucks for that division. And I never would have thought that going into this year. I thought they were still a year or two away. I was not the biggest Sam Darnold fan, but getting away from Adam Gase and the New York Jets has really not turned his whole outlook around, but he definitely looks better than what he did in New York. He still has those tendencies that he showed there that
Mm-hmm.
made him not great, but you put Christian McCaffrey, you put DJ Moore, and you put that athletic defense behind him. We'll see how it plays out, but I got myself looking at the Panthers and I was very impressed. I think they lost the game but passed the test.
Yeah. Yeah, DJ Moore is a monster. Some of the catches he was making, some of the plays he was making, um, and I think too was it Robbie Anderson. I think is also on that. They haven't even really tapped into him yet, so they still have some weapons left. I think too, kind of speaking to your thoughts on giving up those points, man. Some of the touchdowns that Dallas scored, they shouldn't have. Honestly, there are some catches by Cooper that were just insane, and I think that if you a normal team with a normal quarterback can't pull off what Dallas pulled off to make those scores. Um, so yeah, it was a little uninspiring that they left so many points on the board, that they got so many points against them, but um, I think if they have the team together, if they're at full strength, they're tough. Go ahead, Finn.
I would like to add that their biggest weakness was their secondary. They traded a late round draft pick to get a second or third year player from Jacksonville. And they also shockingly made a trade with the New England Patriots for a 6th round pick of 2023 for arguably one of the best corners in the league. And that, if that guy comes back healthy, this defense, once again, could be even better and really fix the few holes that they do have. So, again, I think they're 100% the real deal. And I'm excited to see them push the Bucks. I'd love to see them knock the Bucks out of the division.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's one of the rivalries, at least for myself. There, it hasn't been there the last couple of years, and to see that back and to see, that'd be. I can't wait for that game and to see how that goes. G-Man, what are your thoughts? Do you agree with Finn that the Panthers are the real deal here?
Oh, yeah, they're the real deal. Uh, Sam Darnold. I don't know many Sam Darnold fans last year, but this year, I think he got a few. You know, he he's great. Uh, Even without Christian McCaffrey, he's pretty damn good. With him, they're phenomenal. I think that he's gonna. Oh, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. The next game, hold on. So through the season, I think that he's going to have a really good season with that team.
Yeah,
Sorry, I got ahead of myself.
no worries. No, I definitely agree. I think we're all on the same page. Panthers look good, and I'm excited to watch. It's one of the teams that I don't think, at least for myself, I had on my radar coming into this season, and it's fun. It's fun watching them kind of develop into what it has. All right, I think the last game. Yeah, this will be the last one I want to hit in this category, but we had a game between two undefeated teams last week. Did not go. I mean, I think G Man maybe anticipated this. I think he kind of called this last week. It did not go the way I thought it was going to go, though. I thought it was going to be a much closer game. But we had Arizona against the Rams. Ultimately, Arizona did pull this out. Um, but man, I really thought that Stafford leading into this game was going to play a little better. Like he against the Bucks played really well, and that was hopeful for me. I think one of the things, at least that I felt about him in the past, is when he gets in those pressure games, he doesn't perform as well. He doesn't show up, and it kind of showcased a little bit last week. But I think overall, just the Rams, just they didn't have it quite in them, and Arizona just they put the pressure on the entire game. J-Man, we'll start with you since you kind of called out the Cardinals as being the favorites there. What were your thoughts?
Well, let me just open my ink pad real quick and give them the real deal stamp of approval here. Um, Cardinals are the real deal. I mean, they have Murray, which is a potential MVP quarterback this year, in my opinion. It's it they're going against the 49ers next year, next game, and I think they're gonna hand them an L easy. Uh, they're the team to beat, and I would be surprised if they don't go to the Super Bowl this year. That's how confident I am in them. And what I've seen from them is nothing but great things.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, up until this point, I don't think we have much to refute that. I think the Cardinals are kind of the team to beat, at least over there on the west side. But Finn, your thoughts on the Cardinals or even the Rams last week and that game that we saw?
Arizona is the real deal. They're here to stay, and I'm very, very impressed. Kyler Murray has elevated his game to a status much higher than what I expected. He can run the ball, he can scramble in the pocket, he can make all the throws. He's little, but he's good. And there's no question about that. The defense is better than I expected. This Arizona team, is pretty good. My question and my biggest concern is Cliff Kingsbury, their head coach. I do wonder if Murray is covering up for his issues. I know that I've not been a very big fan of him in the past. I'm not a big fan of him this year, but they're winning games. They're doing it in a dominant fashion. Going to the hometown of the Rams and beating them was a big deal. I did wonder how much of a letdown game this might be for the Rams. They had just faced the Tampa Bay Bucks
Hmm.
and they beat them, and then they have to go and play the Cardinals. And so I did wonder how that was gonna play out. Good teams bounce back, and the Rams did bounce back by beating Seattle and a pretty, ended up pulling away to, not really
Hmm.
pulling away, but they ended up winning that game, and that was a big win. So I think both of those teams are legit contenders, and Arizona, they get the first one. Good job. Now you got to keep it up, but I do think at the end of the year that those were two playoff teams that you will see late in the year.
Yeah. Yeah, I think for me, the Rams also proved themselves. I mean, that's a heck of a stretch. Tampa Bay, Arizona, Seattle, back to back to back. Tampa Bay primetime game, Seattle primetime game. I mean, I think that's a tough stretch, and to come out of that 2-1, that's all you can really hope for. So yeah, I think I was a little let down by the actual Rams versus Arizona game, but ultimately I think both teams are very good, and we're gonna see more of both of them coming up. Um, yeah, we can transition here. I wanted to take a look at some of our picks from the last week and go into the next week here, and then we'll be wrapping things up. So we'll start with let's start with Finn. I feel like we never start with Finn in this category.
All
So
right.
Finn, you got some points this week. We're proud of you. Yeah, there
Here
you
we
go.
go. There we go. I got my one. I'm good for one a week. Just don't
Back
know
in the
which one.
game. Yeah. All right. So last week, your lock of the week was Cleveland over Minnesota. So that was your success. Do you want to talk a little
Yeah,
bit about the game?
absolutely. I would love to talk about it. This was one of those games that this was a no doubter. I told you, that's why I called it the lock of the week. They come out, Cleveland just goes up, blows up, massive points on the board. They win that game 14-7. Exactly how I expected it to go down. Just go ahead, put that in the record book. Piece of cake. Not a concern at all. No, look, I got lucky. That Minnesota put up a lot better fight than I expected. Cleveland, they ended up scraping it out. A win is a win is a win. It's hard to do in the NFL. I feel like I've said that 1,000 times, and they did it. Good job. Now they missed an Odell Beckham 75-yard touchdown pass. You can't do that against better teams. But they managed to win. They won ugly, sign of a good team. Scary, but they did do it.
Yeah, I don't know, man. A sign of a good team winning an ugly game against a team that's 1-3 right now.
It's easy to lose those games though. And Minnesota is not that terrible of a team. Look at who
No,
they've lost to, but look at the scores. It's been close. So
yeah,
I'm not sitting there going Minnesota's a scrub at 1-3.
no, for sure. I think they're a little better than the record shows, but yeah, it was still a knockout, drag out fight till the end. Uh, Jumping into uh, we can we just all skip the upsets this week? We'll just pretend we forgot to pick the upsets last week. And
Okay, I would like to talk once about it real quick.
all right, okay, we'll
I
jump in. Let me set the stage.
okay.
We had upset picks last week. We all ended up. So, if you guys aren't aware, we pick these teams, these games before the podcast. We don't talk to each other. We pick our own locks, our own upsets, and it's a surprise every week on this show. Well, last week we all picked the same upset with the same reasoning, and all three of us were completely wrong. So, Finn, take it away.
I said, and I have said over and over and over again, Detroit is a bad team. Why did we not listen to ourselves? That pen just hit me in the head. That's how bad they were. They made one of the worst plays I've ever seen. Jared Goff is terrible. The whole team is bad. Don't pick Detroit Lions. End of story. We're idiots. Move on.
Let me just tell you, I made some notes, and that's exactly what I had in there. That's exactly what I had in there. It's you don't pick the Lions to win games, and I don't know what we were thinking. Because maybe it was because we looked at the list and there was no better option than rolling some dice and maybe getting an easy win, but
We picked it because they took Baltimore to a historic field goal to lose. We should have known historic field goal to lose does not mean a win next week. It means a big time loss. Ugly, ugly, ugly.
Well, the stage was set with the Doubledons. We had Detroit taking Baltimore down to the last second. And we had Chicago that couldn't get any offense going. So to us, that was like, hey, this is a perfect storm. Detroit's going to get a win in unlikely circumstances.
Justin Fields had a net total yards of 1. That's what he did the week prior. What would possibly think that he would throw for, what was it, over 300 yards and like 4 touchdowns? Come on, let's face it. Nobody expected that. Detroit's that bad. We should have expected it.
should have expected it.
Well, we'll just cut this out. This isn't going to YouTube.
Okay, yeah, we'll cut this out, but at least we all got the L. At least we all got the L together as a team, as fumblers.
We'll commiserate together afterwards. All right, Finn, jumping into your Dolphins pick of the week. This was not a great. I watched the first half. It was not necessarily an exciting game either, but I'll let you jump into Miami versus the Colts last week.
I want to say right out of the gate, this Colts game, it was a nightmare. For those at home waiting for the pun, there it is. There you go. The Colts game was a nightmare. This is one of the worst losses in franchise history as far as I'm concerned. Not necessarily in terms of playoffs, but in terms of a team that is supposed to go somewhere. They had high expectations. They were facing a team that was missing their left guard, missing their left tackle, missing their number 1 wide receiver, missing, like, their starting quarterback had 2 twisted ankles, like sprained ankles. They're missing some guys in the defense. This is a team that the Dolphins should have came in, showed up, and just destroyed and dominated this game from kickoff to the final whistle, and they didn't do it. Jacoby Brissett is terrible. My phone autocorrects his name to Brisket, and I kept saying this is perfect because he's cooked and he's done. The text messages that I sent my father were simple. It was this. If they don't get their act together, fire everyone is going to be in my vocab. 2 minutes later, I said, never mind, it's already in my vocabulary. This was a horrible, horrible, horrible game. It was a huge disappointment. And the Dolphins have started 1-3, I believe now 2 years in a row, and 0-4 the year prior. They are slow starters. That's not good enough. That's not good. Bad, bad, bad. And yes, it pained me to watch the Dolphins lose. It cost me a win in my fantasy league, and it didn't even get me a point here. It was just bad all the way around. Horrible, atrocious, disgusting.
I would dive into it further, but I'll let it lay there. I don't think there's much to add. Sorry the season's starting out this way. I know there was high hopes leading into it. Yeah.
Oh, don't worry though. They have a much easier game starting this week. So, and we're gonna get into that here in just a second. So I'm not even concerned, not worried at all.
Finn.
But anyways, I'm gonna step back.
Just relax. Relax, Finn.
Oh, that's right. I should get a massage when the Dolphins get Deshaun Watson.
Oh god. Let's not go there. Oh man, I was going to change the subject, but G-Man picked the Texans.
Oh, okay. All right. I did pick the Texans. Well, look, when the spread is 17.5, okay, do you not just like, okay, well, maybe I have a chance here picking the underdog to win? Well, not even just win, just that the Bills wouldn't cover that. But 40-0, how bad does your team have to look,
Yeah.
dude? The Texans need to get it together. That should probably been one of the trouble teams on our list, but we didn't put it on there. But yeah,
Two rules.
no,
Two rules. You never bet Detroit. You never bet Houston.
never. Never. I don't even know how they're a team.
Yeah,
You ever get that feeling? You're like, oh, I don't know, man.
it was pretty
But
atrocious.
yeah,
I mean, looking at the stats here, Mills, who of course filling in for Tyrod, less than 100 yards passing. Ingram, the top rusher, 24 yards rushing. Top receiver at 47 yards, and that's Brandon Cooks. I mean, he's decent, he's good, and he's less than 50 yards for the day. So, yeah, this is it's not looking good for them. I'm glad you didn't get the handover point for picking the upset just by the spread. So it makes me a little happy.
look, I had a 50-50 shot. I was like, there's no way they're that bad, right? There's no way they're that bad, right?
Finn,
But it's
don't-
the Bills.
no.
It's the Bills. What? What? It's the Bills, okay?
You're trying to make Finn do math on that 50-50.
Well, I can tell you with 100% certainty, I'm not picking Houston to beat anybody the rest of the season. And you can quote me there.
It's fair enough.
Don't bet on the
Houston?
Jets. Yeah, Texans?
Yeah, no, Houston, we have a problem.
Yeah. Okay. Texans, Jags, Lions, Jets. Don't bet on those four. Those are the four horsemen of you're going to take an L that week.
Jumping into the four horsemen, you picked Kansas City over the Eagles last week. You were correct. You successfully scored a point there for your record. Walk us into that game. Your thoughts heading out of it as well.
First of all, you know what I hate more than anything? That I have to bet against my team every week. I felt like the first half of the game, we played ball and we stopped them. And it was pretty even and it was a good game. But that fourth quarter, something awoken and I don't know what it was, but they just started playing and we couldn't stop them. And yeah.
Tyreek Hill had quite the day. I mean, I still
Yeah.
lost in my fantasy league with him, but quite the day.
Yeah.
That's every
40
week. I mean,
42-40 or 42-30, sorry.
mm,
We're not that good. But I don't know. I hate betting against my Eagles, but it gets me a win. So, you know.
yeah,
Um,
I feel you.
do you feel me sick? Your
Yeah,
team is
no.
Tampa
I mean,
Bay. You
I
don't
always
feel
have
me.
to pick my team to win. I mean, it's the same problem, you know.
Yeah. Oh, I gotta win somewhere.
Yeah, I just jump into some of my picks. Real quick, I did pick Dallas over Carolina. That was my lock of the week. So I did get a point there. Dallas, of course, did upset. Well, not upset. They did keep the lock for that win. Yes, I appreciate it, Finn. So that is 1 point for me. Of course, upsets we've covered. Leading into my team, this was a big game of the week. Tampa Bay against New England. Going into New England, Brady's return. I think, of course, they didn't. They won by, I believe, 2 points, so did not cover the spread. I did not get a point for this, even though I correctly. This is the same thing every week for me. Correct pick, but not a point on the board. But I am so glad Tampa Bay went in and won ultimately. I think it was, there was a lot behind the game. I think Brady had a lot to prove, and I think that was shown in some of the plays throughout the game. But ultimately we came in there. I know it came down to a field goal missed. So Was it the greatest of games? No. Should we have won it? Potentially not, but we did. So, like Finn always says, it's not easy to get a win, so you take what you can get. Go ahead, Finn.
Especially Brady had a lot to prove to this game. This was his big middle finger to that organization and the head coach that by a lot of rumors they had a lot of friction. And at the end of the day, he did not look great. The Bucks offense didn't look great. The defense did okay, but Mac Jones looked decent enough. And this was a really ugly game, nothing like what anybody expected,
Mm,
and the Bucks managed to luck out a win. And I have to say, I have an uncle. Well, all of my family just about are huge Bucks fans, and I got to see Bucks fans complaining about the officiating in New England, and my response to them was very simple: a nice LOL and a "this is what Miami deals with once a year." Every year for the last 50,000 years that Brady has played since entering the league. It was great to see the Bucks fans crying about penalties and weird calls, and that's all I wanted to say. It was an ugly win. Brady didn't even throw a touchdown pass in his return. Kind of made me chuckle a little bit. And as far as I'm concerned, Belichick got the L in the record book, but he kind of won the matchup.
yeah, um, I think for me, for Brady, really, like you're saying, to come back and prove something, it should have been a little more decisive. Yeah, he got the win in the record book, but like you're saying, is it necessarily what he wanted? I don't think so. I think he wanted to play much better than he did.
I think the icing on the cake would have been that field goal actually getting in there and winning them the game. That would have been hilarious.
If you say so, I wouldn't have felt the same way. But
Yeah,
I would have laughed.
see?
all right, yeah. So real quick, we'll jump into this week. Um, we'll just kind of go over our picks. We don't necessarily have to go into unless you guys feel you want to dive into some of the matchups. But I'll kind of kick it off here, and Finn will save maybe our teams for last for this conversation. So for myself, the lock of the week, which I believe are favorites. Of course, I've had problems in the past of seeing a plus and a minus sign. So Finn, keep me honest here. So this week, my pick is going to be the Broncos over the Steelers. They are 1 point favorites, and I think that no, they aren't going to dominate. They aren't going to necessarily have a decisive win, but I do think the Broncos can pull out a win over the Steelers. So that was my lock. Do you guys feel any different about that matchup?
Honestly, when I was looking at it, that was a PK, which is, I believe, a pick 'em. So there was no favorite or really point
Mm,
spread. It was just who you think was going to win. At that point, I was kind of bummed because I liked the Denver Broncos over the Pittsburgh Steelers because I do think that, well, I don't believe in Denver. Like you said, I'm not a huge believer in Pittsburgh, and I think that they can squeak out a win, maybe by a field goal or 2 points, something silly, something last second, and
mm,
just enough.
yep. Yeah, I feel the same way.
Just real quick. I think you're crazy. I think the Steelers win that game.
Duly noted. Well, where's the timestamp checker here? All right.
Oh,
Hour 12, I got it.
got it.
Jumping into my upset of the week. So taking a look, I actually picked, and this is man, I was looking through the games this upcoming week. I really don't think there's a great upset for myself. I had trouble determining who I felt was going to go against the spread here, but ultimately I landed on the Bills and the Chiefs. I think that game is going to be close, but the way the Bills have been playing, um, I think the Chiefs are still going to have some struggles. I don't think they're at the level of the Bills quite yet. And so I do think the Bills being, let's see, 2.5 point underdogs in Kansas City. So basically, as Finn likes to point out, it's pretty much a push with the home team having 3 points to them. But I think the Bills will go in and upset the Chiefs in Kansas City. So that is my pick of the week, my upset of the week. Any follow ups there from you guys?
I didn't even know the Bills were the underdog in that game. Shows you how little I paid attention. I wasn't going to pick that game. That's a matchup of the year candidate right there.
Mm-hmm.
This very well may be your AFC Championship game to determine who's going to the Super Bowl. So yeah, it going to be a very interesting game. The Kansas City Chiefs are built to beat the Bills, and the Bills have kind of retooled their roster to beat the Chiefs. I mean, you have to knock off the champ.
Yeah,
They are the champs. They've been to the Super Bowl 2 years in a row. They were in the championship game Mahomes' first year. I mean, they are the team to beat. And will the Bills be able to knock them off? I don't know. But Josh Allen is playing his last week. He had a great game, and they have really picked it up and are playing great ball. We'll see, but they have yet to play an offense like the Chiefs. And ooh, man, is that Chiefs offense good?
for sure. But I think that's going to be a deciding factor. Can they rein in the offense? Because the Bills have their own offense that can go off, but I'm not necessarily certain they can keep up with the Chiefs if it ends up just being a shootout. Um, G-Man, any thoughts on that game from your side?
Uh, See, I'm just gonna tell you right now, I picked the same upset of the week.
There we go.
So, I mean, I believe in the Bills. Not necessarily like that coming out of my mouth, but I believe that the Bills could overtake the Chiefs. I think it's possible. The Bills have been playing ball, and if there's gonna be one team to dethrone the king, I think it's the Bills. So, you can lock me in there.
Nice. Yeah, I think we're definitely on the same page, and I agree. I think if there is anyone that you pick against the Chiefs, I think the Bills are going to be that team. Um, so yeah, we can jump over G-Man. I know you told us about your upset there. What was your lock of the week for this week?
See, as much as I would have loved to pick Tampa Bay to beat Miami, which would have been just sweet, sweet, like, oh God, I could already see Finn's face. It's great. But I actually picked the Ravens to beat the Colts as my lock of the week. And you can sign up whatever you need to sign up there because it's a train and they're taking tickets.
Boy, that's a seven
I
point spread.
7 point spread. Yep. I don't think that the Colts have anywhere near the talent as the Ravens do, and I think that the Ravens run right over the Colts.
Yeah, I think I've been waiting for the Colts to show up because I felt like they're better than they've been showing, and it's not been the case. So that may just be the team we see this year.
It's Carson Wentz, man. That's what I'm saying. It's Carson Wentz. Philip Rivers 2.0. Philip Rivers 2.0. That's Carson Wentz.
Philip Rivers led this Colts team to the playoffs last year.
Oh, okay. Maybe I won't be too optimistic there then.
Rivers,
And then,
I gotta say,
no, go
Rivers
ahead.
was Mr. Consistency. He was always, I always
Yeah,
enjoyed watching him play. So,
yeah, he was all right.
all right. Anything else on that matchup, G-Man, or would you like to go into your Eagles pick for this week?
Let's go into my Eagles pick.
Let's do it.
All right, so the Eagles travel to Carolina and are 3 point underdogs. Okay, they looked great against the Chiefs, and the Panthers are without good old McCaffrey. Uh, Look, uh, I'm sure you're wondering whether I am an Eagles fan or the best sports analyst to ever analyze football, but I'm an Eagles fan first, sports analysis later, and I'm picking my Eagles to beat Carolina. Almost forgot in that rant with what team we were facing. But yeah, no, I think that the Eagles potentially could beat them how they played last week against the Chiefs. I know the game got away in the fourth quarter, but they played ball, and I think that they got their stuff together. But it's going to be a pretty close game there in Carolina,
It's.
maybe.
I mean, it's
I know
tough.
what you're saying. Look. I know what you're saying, but upsets happen all the time, and I think that this might be one of those.
I mean, I want it to be. I want to. I want to believe, G-Man. I don't know if I can. I don't know if it's the Panthers in Carolina. It just. It'll be tough. But I can't say it's out of the cards. I can't say that they can't do it. So more power to you, and I'll be behind you guys this week.
I'm willing to give it the good old fashioned G-Man stats there. It's a 50-50 shot. In terms of the outcome, the Eagles are going to get a win or loss. I doubt it'll be a tie. No, I that's a gutsy pick, and I think the Panthers defense rebounds. I think the Panthers offense is good enough. Jalen Hurts is going to hurt the team again. The Eagles have given up something like, what is it, 82 points in their last two games. It's not good, man, and it's just ouch. That's all I'm gonna say. Ouch.
I mean,
Hey,
if you go against the Chiefs and don't give up 80 points to the Chiefs, it's considered a win. So
That is true, but who'd they play in week 3? They gave up a ton of points to.
look, I don't. We're also give up the most penalties in NFL. It's like 35 last time I checked, and the closest was 27 in week 4. So I don't know. It's not a pick I'm proud of. It's a pick that I need. I need this to work.
I will
And
give the Eagles some credit there. They've given up 80 something points, 83 points the last two games, but they faced the Cowboys, who have one of the best offenses in the NFL, and then the Chiefs, one of the best offenses in the NFL. Carolina's offense is not either one of those. So maybe you can keep them under 40 this week. Maybe.
I don't know.
do we
We'll
want
see.
a?
We'll find out.
I feel like we need a side bet here. Are they going to keep them under 40?
Oh, they'll keep them under 40.
Oh, okay.
38.
All right.
30. We'll keep them under 30.
Well, Finn,
Eh.
you're enjoying talking about everyone else's picks. I think it's your time. But your lock of the week is
This is easy. This is easy. Lock of the week. You look at it and you say, who
if
is the
you
worst
pick
team
the
in the NFL?
Dolphins, I swear, if you pick the Dolphins here,
Lock of the week. Go ahead, stamp it, put it in the, go ahead, mortgage your house. This is the lock of the week here. The Vikings over Detroit Lions. 10 point spread. Easy. Detroit's that bad. Come on. They couldn't contain Justin Fields. Dalvin Cook is back. Kirk Cousins to Adam Thielen. Kirk Cousins to Jefferson. I mean, Justin Jefferson, whatever his name is. Justin Jefferson, I think it is. This is going to be a big game. Sorry, Detroit fans. Yikes. My upset. G-Man, you said do never bet on a few teams. Well, I hate to break it to you. The upset is easy. You've got the New York Jets facing the terrible Atlanta Falcons. They are 2.5 point underdogs, which means this is easy. I believe that Zach Wilson finally had his coming out party. He played well for once. He's going up against the worst secondary in the league. Calvin Ridley's out. This is going to be Matt Ryan throwing the ball to the rookie tight end. Good luck with that. I believe the Jets get their second win in a row and upset the Atlanta Falcons.
interesting pick. I definitely saw that one. I'm not convinced quite yet. He had one game against terrible Titans team in my opinion. Um, I I don't see it against the Falcons. I watched the Falcons when they played the Bucs a couple weeks ago. No, they're not a great team, but I don't think they're a terrible team. I don't think it's going to be as easy as maybe you're laying it out to be. So I don't see it, but there's potential.
I think that if Finn loses this game, -2 points. Because I said, and you have agreed with me, don't bet on the Jets. And what do? You go around and you bet on the Jets.
But I'm betting against the Lions, so it counters it. Now, there is a bit of a fun matchup, though, this weekend. Sick.
A
I
bit
know
of
you're the
what?
host here, so I don't want to steal the thunder there. Go ahead and talk about your team.
Yeah, as you can see, the Bucks are my team. So yeah, so this week the Buccaneers are playing the Dolphins. Of course, it's always a fun week when that occurs. It's always one of the games you kind of look forward to. Um,
Really?
I don't think it'll be much of a concern for the Buccaneers. I think that if we come out and play what we're known to play, I believe what we're the home team as well this week, Finn. So we're in Tampa. We have the better team. We are, yeah, we're 10 points, 10-point favorites. So that's quite a bit to cover. That was my question. Do we actually cover that spread? I think we win by a touchdown. That's kind of my initial gut feeling. But I could also see if we get some of our deers rolling, we could, we could steamroll. Um, Finn, what are your thoughts? And then we'll jump into maybe our picks after you.
Rock out. Antoine Winfield out. Bunting out. Williams out. JPP slowed down. Dean hurt. Richard Sherman brand new and even admitted rubber legs. With all that said, we got Brisket as our quarterback, Will Fuller with a broken middle finger, and an offensive line that is, well, there's more holes in the offensive line than Swiss cheese. The Dolphins are an embarrassment of a franchise right now. Their offense is disgusting. Their defense is built to have the lead and to be able to send pressure. This one thing that is intriguing to me is the secondary matchup. Xavier Howard, Byron Jones, Nick Needham, and the secondary that Miami has with man-to-man coverage going up against, Antonio Brown, Chris Godwin, Mike Evans is going to be the kind of fun to see how that plays out. Who matches up where? How do they handle it? Um, my initial thought is that Miami has one choice, and that's to air out their offense. When they've done it against Oakland, it was successful. When they did it against the Colts at the end of the game, it was successful. And when Miami plays ball control, boring, awful, slow, methodical, as Coach Flores said,
Mm-hmm.
offense, it is ugly, it is boring, it is bad. That's why they're one of the worst offenses in the league. There is some intrigue in here. There is some things that make me wonder how Miami puts up the fight. There's a lot of injuries to that Bucs secondary. This is the game Miami should air it out. This is the game Miami should be aggressive. This is the game that the offense should finally wake up and break out. But what do I think's going to happen? Pick to be determined here. You're going first. I'm going last on this one. I'm putting my foot down.
Fair enough.
Unless you want me to go.
No, we can. So we'll go back and forth. I think you hit on the intriguing part for me. The Miami defense is decent. I think they had some of the, if not the most turnovers in the league for quite a while, and so they're not a pushover defense. I think that defense will keep them in the game for the majority of the game. And that's the other concern for me is the Miami does not have a great offense, like you're saying, but the Bucks don't have a great defense. You can't run against us. I think we're the top rush defense in the league, but Miami doesn't have a running back that is necessarily to worry about, and that's where they're. Like you're saying, their strengths more in the passing game, and I think we have the worst defense in the league in the passing. So if that's like if there was any team right now that kind of exploits the Buccaneers' weaknesses, it might be the Dolphins. So that's at least to me the intriguing part. So that's why I don't think it'll necessarily be a blowout game. But that's what I have the game at. I kind of hinted at it earlier. I think the Buccaneers win by a touchdown. So I do not think they'll cover the spread, but I think they will win the game. So I'll leave it at winners by 7.
Wow. I have a much different opinion on this, as you would imagine. I think the Dolphins surprise everybody and get blown out in Tampa, and they lose by 17 points. They keep it close midway through the third, and then the wheels fall off. Brisket throws possibly a pick six on some dumb play because he's terrible, and the Bucks secondary full of nobodies and an old beat up Richard Sherman finds a way to win this game. And I'm gonna sit there and be throwing a fit, throwing my hat, yelling at nobody, and staying away from everybody because everybody here is Tampa Bay fans except me. And yeah, I'm not excited at all for this game. If Tua was here, I do think Miami has a chance because of this defense, the injuries on that defense in the secondary. Without Tua, I don't even give Miami a fighting chance whatsoever. It's going to end poorly. So I have the Bucks winning and definitely covering the spread, and it's not even that close.
At least we'll make it interesting. We didn't pick the same thing, so yeah. I think there's definitely potential there. It's whether to me the Buccaneers defense shows up. I don't think our offense is gonna blow out or win us a game, but if our defense can keep Miami from doing what they need to do, then I think there's no shot at all. Um, so yeah, I think that's interesting that we did take different perspectives there, but I'm sure we'll have a text chain going this weekend.
Possibly. My phone might be in a wall.
I was just saying, maybe
all,
not, maybe.
all I gotta
All right.
say about this, all I gotta say about this is Tampa's gonna win. But Finn, next week, Jaguars, and then the week after that, Falcons,
And Tua's back.
and
Mhm.
Tua's back. So that's 2 wins right there, buddy.
You mean Tua wins?
Tua wins. There you go.
No,
So
you
don't be
can't set them up,
discouraged.
man.
Don't be discouraged. Just relax.
I will
I
say,
love the fact that we use the words from the greatest quarterback to ever wear number 12 over and over again.
I- I'm
RELAX.
sure Brady said that at some point. You're right.
Aaron Rodgers said that in a press conference.
Okay.
I will say my favorite. I feel like my favorite thing coming out of this podcast is that we're just going to call him Brisket for the rest of the season. So,
Fair
um,
enough.
yeah. So that wraps up today. I think we've hit on uh, pretty much everything we have laid out. The only remaining thing was potentially talking about the Chiefs and the Bills, which we kind of hit on with some of our picks. I think we've gone through that matchup. I think it's going to be a great game. Like Finn was saying, game of the year potential for the season. It's especially a game of the week to watch out for. I'll give some time here, G-Man or Finn. Any parting words that you guys had this week? Anything else you want to hit on before we say goodbye?
Fly Eagles fly. That's all I need. That's all I need. That's all I got for you. Just fly Eagles fly. I hope they beat the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, I don't have too much to say. My sports world right now is does not look too bright. I'm 0-4 in one of my fantasy leagues. I'm 2-2 in the other. The Dolphins are 1-3 going up against the defending Super Bowl champions, the Bucks. But the Tampa Bay Rays in baseball in the playoffs. Let's go Rays. That's my parting words for football. Go Rays. And I love throwing stuff apparently.
Fair enough. Yeah, I know that's exciting. Hopefully, they do well. I know last couple seasons they've done pretty well in the playoffs, so it'd be nice to see it continue. All right. Well, that wraps it up for today. Appreciate everyone joining us. Feel free to follow us on Twitch. Watch us on YouTube after the fact. The Fumbling Gurus on all platforms. But appreciate everyone joining in. We'll see you next Friday. And yeah, talk to you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.